right? Lastly, we looked at number theory, right? We talked about how the numbers evolved from natural to real numbers, talked about significant figures. We talked about additive identity and all those properties of numbers, right? Today, we're moving on to some consumer arithmetic and simple things like ratios. So what I'm showing you here is that something that we could use if you have a ratio. So if you have a ratio of 5 to 3 to 2, right, we had to be able to represent what fraction the ratio represents. All right. So here is a nice little formula that I could use. So 5 represents 5 over 5 plus 3 plus 2, that's 10. Right? Here represents 3/10, here represents 2/10, so the whole thing. Right? What about if we had a ratio 7 to 4 to 2? What would this 7 represent? 7 over 13, right? Here is 4 and 13, and here is 2 and 13. So sometimes we have to take a ratio and be able to represent what fraction it represents. Right? Then some quick rules that we need to remember about discount, profit, sales tax, loss, something. And then I want to show you how to do compound interest, right? Let's do my quick favor and I'll just write these little formulas down. Okay? Ignore compound interest, right? I want to spend some time on compound interest, right? I want to make sure you understand the difference between simple interest and how to calculate compound interest. Appreciation and depreciation as well. Okay. So we need to understand the difference between simple interest and compound interest, right? So let's just say we put some money in bank, right? Let's say we put a principal of $5,000, right? A principal of 5,000 and the rates that we're going to get, let's give you, I'll give you a little 10%. And we want to leave it for 2 years, right? Let's see the difference in the interest from compound interest and from simple. All right? Let's do simple interest first. Really easy. Simple interest formula, as you will have it there, is principal by rate by time in years. So this time here must be in years. Are you okay with that? Time must be in years. So if you have 6 months, convert to years. All right? And then you divide by 100. So the principal is 5,000 by rate, which is 10. Sorry, 5,000 by 10 by 2 years, all over 100. Right? That'll cancel. How much is that? That is 100 by 10. Right? So the simple interest that you're going to get after 2 years is $1,000, right? But this is using simple interest. Let's check out compound interest now. Compound interest means after 1 year, right, you will acquire some amount of interest, right? So you start, let's say you started with E. After 1 year, you will have X dollars now. Then after 2 years, the interest will be based on this X, not this E. All right? So it might make sense there, but let's put these numbers into the formula and see what will happen. Same thing. I have a principal of exact same conditions. 5,000, a rate of 10% time 2 years. But we follow in a compound interest method. Are you okay with that? Before we do it, which one you all think would be higher? The compound interest method or the simple interest method? Compound will give you more money. Yeah? If you had to guess. Compound? All right, so let's see. So we check in after 1 year. After year 1. Same formula we use it, simple interest. So we're using the simple interest formula. Principal by rate by time. But this time is just 1 year. Okay? So if you put this money in January, we're trying to see by the next January how much we have. Are you okay with that? So the simple interest here is how much? The simple interest here will be 5,000 by the rate is still 10 by 1 year all over 100. This will cancel and we'll get 500. So after 1 year, it's still up 500. Okay? After year 2 now, right? How are we going to get the simple interest? Right? The simple interest will be, so you say you made 500 the first year, right? Yeah, 500 the first year. Second year now, simple interest, same thing, principal by rate by time. Did the rate change? No, the rate is still 10%. We're still getting 10%. Still 1 year because we're trying to find for year 2 alone. Right? But what will change now? At the start of year 2, we have more than 5,000. We have how much? We have 5,500. Okay? This is the principal plus the simple interest from the first year. Okay with that? So 5,500 by 10 by 1. And this is how much? That'll cancel, so that'll be 550. You okay with that? So what will be the total? What will be the total interest? The total interest here will be 5,500 plus 500. So the answer is 1,050. So you made up $50 extra using compound interest. So the first one, simple interest, use the formula. This formula, all you have to do is just make sure you're putting the right number of years. Okay? Here, you have to work 1 year at a time. Okay? It is compound interest. After you find the simple interest on the first year, you add this to your principal. Right? That'll be the new amount you're starting that year with. And then you find the interest on that. Okay? So after 2 years, the total interest using this method is this plus this, which will give you 1,050. Here's what I do it for me. Same thing, just to make sure you have the hang of it. Let's change it slightly. Let's give them some more interest, 25% interest. Right? Principal of 7,000. And instead of going 2 years, let's go 3 years. So you have to go do this one more time. Once you handle that. Right? Do that, please. Simple interest on this and compound interest on the same thing. Take your time. So it's 7,000 by 25 by 3 years, all over 100. How much is that? That's the interest? After 3 years, right? So 5,250 is the interest after 3 years. Let's check out compound interest now. So this is the first year. Cover that. Right? First year. So after the first year, we're going to work out the interest, right? So the interest will be 7,000 by 25 by 1 all over 100. How much is that? One.
1,752.
Yeah, nice. So now after, so on the second year now, what do? We add 1,750 to the 7,000. So that'll be 8,750. Okay? Right? So if you want right here, you can write new principal. New principal will be 7,000 plus 1,750, which is 8,750. So simple interest is this now. On this now. Multiply by 25 by 1 all over 100. Right? When you work this out, how much you got? 2187. Thanks. 0.52. Well, let's round it up, right? Around the top, right? 2188. Right? Third year now. Anybody confused? Everybody okay? It's a little bit long. Everybody okay with that? Third year. Simple interest. That would be adding 2188 to this. How much is that? 10,000 and how much? 937 by 25 by 1 year over 100. How much is that? 27.25. So I just rounded it off, right? 2734. You okay with that? So we have 1, 2, 3. So therefore the total interest. The total interest is 1750 plus 2188 plus 2734, which is right 6672. Right. So that's the total interest on compound interest. So you're doing it 3 times, right? You do it once, add that value on, do it a second time, add that value on, third time, add that value on. Right, so we're doing depreciation now. Anybody give me a little help on depreciation? So if I tell you this car here, or this bottle of water, right? This bottle of water depreciating every year. Right now it's worth $100, but every year it goes down in value. That's how cars work, right? It will go down in value unless you're adding on things there. So the value is going to get lower and lower. So every year, a particular percentage of it will drop. So let's say we have this car, right? This car is worth $1,000, right? And it depreciates by 10% every year, right? Every year, the value of that car is going to depreciate by 10%, right? It's very similar to what we're doing here, but instead of adding, you would have to drop it, right? So this is how much it worth on year 0. So you're now 5, right? After 1 year, it's going to depreciate by, it depreciates by 10%, right? Depreciating by 10%. So after 1 year, it's going to lose 10% of this value, right? So what we can do is we can work out what the depreciated value will be. So let's work out 10% of the original value, right? So that'll give you what? Right? That will give you $100. So after the first year, it's going to lose the value by 100. That's okay? So the car now is worth same tire. The car is now 1,000 minus 100. So the car is now worth $900. You okay with that? Now let's do our next year now. Right? So now we want to check it out after 2 years. So after 2 years, again, it's going to depreciate by the same value, 10%. Okay? So we're going to find 10% of what? The 1,000 or the 900? 900, right? 10% of 900, right? That'll cancel and that'll be $90. So the new value of the car is what? The new value of the car will be the 900 minus 90. Right? So that'll be 810. The depreciation. All right? And that's the way depreciation will work. Kind of in the reverse of compound interest. Instead of adding this value, to minus it. That's okay? So that's the concept of depreciation. Okay, make a note of that. All right, let's start here and let's do some higher purchase something, right? So this is our past paper. This is June 2013. Let's give this a try here. Right, so we have fee here, right? Fade borrowed 9,600 at 8% per annum. Compound interest, right? So we have to kind of follow the technique that we did a little while ago. Calculate the interest on the loan for the first year. Okay? So for the first year, we're going back with the same simple interest formula, but we're using time as 1 year, right? That simple interest will be principal by rate by time over 100. The principal is 9,600. The rate is 8%, and the time is 1 year, all over 100. How much is that? 768. Okay, so that's the interest, right? So calculate the interest on the loan, 768. But now, at the end of the first year, right? Right? How much she owing at the end of the first year before you make the payment? How much she's owing? She's owing 9,600 plus the 768. Okay, that's before she made the payment, right? By the way, the answer for part 1 is just simply 768, right? I just kind of building up to answer part 2. How much you got in there? So at the end of the year, before she makes this payment, she's owing 10,368. That's okay? Now she's going to repay this amount. So we're going to minus off 4,368, right? And we end up with how much? $6,000. So how much did she still owe at the beginning of the 6th year? That's $6,000. So she's still owing $6,000. We add on her interest and we minus off a payment, 4,368. Are you okay with that? Calculate the interest on the remaining balance now. So the remaining balance is how much? 6,000. So we need to calculate the interest. So simple interest on the 6,000. So it's 6,000 by 8% for 1 year, all over 100. That'll cancel and we get what? 480, right? So get them a little bit of statement and try to work it in, right? We'll do this plug in numbers and get them a little bit of statement. All right, let's do this profit loss here. Read that, fill in the blanks. So cost price is 55, selling price is 44. So the percentage profit or loss. How are we doing that? Looking like a loss. So to get the percentage, we take the cost price and we work out the loss on top, right? So that's 55 minus 44. That's 11. 11 and 55 is 1/5. So that's a 20% loss. So if the profit is 25%, what's the cost price? 25% profit means that this $100 here represents the original 100% plus the profit. Correct? So therefore, 125% is equal to $100. So the selling price is a combination of the profit and the original price. And the profit is 25%. So it means that that $100 there represents 125%. Okay? So all you have to do now is to find for the cost price, which is 100% of the value. So we could find for 1%, which is 100 over 125, then multiply that by 100. How much is that? 80. Right? Last thing and be done. Do that faster, man. Currency. All right, let's work out this and finish up there, right? Right, so we know EC1, right? So here's how you work it out, right? EC 40 cents is equal to TT $1. All right, so we want to find for 1 EC. So divide this by 0.4, you'll get 1. Divide this by 0.4, how much you'll get? 250. Okay, next US80 to EC. So coming up here now. I know 1 US is 270. So 80 US will be 80 multiplied by 270 in EC. How much is that? 216 EC. And lastly, you want to convert TT to US. So what we have to do is figure out that conversion, right? We know that for every EC, it's 250 TT. And we know that for every 1 US, it's 270 EC. So what we could do is we could get rid of that $2.70 EC and convert that to TT. That's okay? So we can multiply 2.7 by 250. Now we have everything in TT. How much is 250 by 270? 6.75. So 1 US is equal to 6.75 TT. So here's what we know. We know that TT 675 is equal to US $1. So we need to find 648. How are we doing that? Find for $1 and then find for 648. So 1 TT is equal to 1 US divided by 6.75. And then 648 will be 1 over 6.75 multiplied by 648. You all will recognize that I will always use this technique. Like I'll always have a relationship here. Then I will find for 1, then find for what I need. Okay? If you understand that concept already, you can skip out this line and go straight here. Okay? But I like to follow that pattern. Find a relationship, find for 1, then find for how much you need. How much is that? 648 divided by 6.75. Right? 96.